Daniel Jones has probably been one of the most polarizing New York Giants players to date. The entire fan base has completely split into two, with the Daniel Jones truthers and the Daniel Jones haters. Today, we are here to open up some sort of conversation and talk about Daniel Jones and where do we go from here. What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video. And today we're just going to be talking, man. We're going to be talking about Daniel Jones because I have a lot to say, and I think either the people both on both sides of the spectrum, on both sides of the Daniel Jones civil war that's going on right now, are either really going to open up their ears and listen to the opposing arguments, because I'm probably one of the more non-biased sort of contributors to this as a Giants fan. I kind of am looking at things how I see it. I really take my emotions out of it, and I'm just calling it how I see it. You guys know in the past I've defended Daniel Jones plenty of times, but I was still one to hold him accountable. Maybe I was more of a fan back then than I was now. It was just really my hope really kind of blinding me. But as of this year, even going back to last year, I've really been pretty non-biased, pretty straightforward when it comes to Daniel Jones, and I see a lot of just stupid talking points, really dumb arguments on both sides, and I'm really here to set the record straight and kind of give both views an opposing sort of point of view. Now, it's no question Daniel signed a big contract, 4 years, $160 million, 82 of those $160 million guaranteed to him. Now, it's not the biggest contract we've ever seen, especially after he was signed. There were a couple of other guys that got signed as well, even for more guaranteed money, even triple that amount in guaranteed money. But it's still a large sum for an NFL franchise, and you're basically telling your quarterback when you sign them for that much money that you are the franchise quarterback. You are supposed to be the guy moving forward. Now, whether or not Daniel Jones has done that is, I think, out of the question right now. I don't think any Daniel Jones defenders right now can honestly say that he's been doing a solid job at quarterback. Obviously, going back in his year statistically, looking at his touchdowns to interceptions, you go back to 2019, 24 of 12, and then you had, I believe, 11 of 12, and then like 10 to 7, and then 15 to 5, something like that, 11 to 10. Then 10 to 7, then 15 to 5. That is touchdowns and interceptions respectively in every year. It's just not cutting it, man. It's just not cutting it. And when you have to go back 4 years for a quarterback to surpass 20 touchdowns, that is a problem. Despite play calling and coaching, going back with Jason Garrett and Joe Judge, or even that may be the case now with Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, even though that they are very, very different regimes there. And then talking about the offensive line, it's always been bad. I just don't have it in me to excuse Daniel Jones for yet another year of not putting up numbers in the touchdowns department, when we've seen quarterbacks time and time again, even in very, very failing teams and very, very failing offenses, succeed. You look at Justin Fields, who threw 4 touchdowns in the past 2 games, I believe 4 back-to-back, 8 touchdowns. I mean, that is quadruple the amount of touchdowns that Daniel Jones has throughout the year, and it's really telling that it may be Daniel Jones is a part of the problem. Now, I said this on yesterday's podcast, the Young Guns podcast. If you guys didn't watch, make sure you guys watch. There was a lot of talk in there as far as the state of the New York Giants and things like that, and Daniel Jones. But I did say this, that Daniel Jones is not the root of the problem, in my honest opinion. I think the root of the problem has to be that offensive line. It's been just one of the most biggest Achilles heels that we've had on this team for a very, very long time, for over 10 years now. Before Daniel Jones even got here, it's been really, really bad. And now I think it's the worst I've ever seen an offensive line play in my entire life. Like, I sincerely think that. I've never seen an offensive line this bad in my entire life. Now, not all of the sacks are on the offensive line. There are a couple of instances, one in particular, the Devin Witherspoon sack, where there was just no creativity in the offense at all for Wan'Dale Robinson to cut his route short and look for the ball. Daniel Jones not even communicating that. He should have saw the blitz coming. The blitz was coming before the ball to see the snap, didn't see it, didn't slide protections, none of that, and got himself sacked. That wasn't on the offensive line. The Miami triple sack is what I coined it. That play that went viral, that everybody thought Evan Neal didn't, protect and let somebody right through, when it was Marcus McKeithen blocking a guy that Evan Neal should have been blocking, because the protection was slid over to the left, and Evan Neal had to take everything inside, and that defender was hot. So Daniel Jones was supposed to throw that hot. He was supposed to dump that off to the running back that was swinging the same way the blitz was coming, and I mean, it's things like that gets Daniel Jones killed, and that's not necessarily on the offensive line. And although I've been a fan of Daniel Jones, and I really wish he could have succeeded here, because I, for one, was one of the people that wanted Daniel Jones re-signed on the team. Now, I was very vocal in that offseason, and it's well documented that I was not a fan of $40 million, even before he actually got signed for the $40 million. I remember when it was back at $45 million, I thought that was absurd. And I thought $40 million was still pushing it, but he wound up getting signed for $40 million, and I was all on board on Daniel Jones. He is my franchise quarterback, and let's try to see how we can move forward from here. He has not done a great job up to this point. Now, there are a lot of things that keep Daniel Jones from succeeding, where you could say the New York Giants failed Daniel Jones, but there are also a lot of instances where Daniel Jones fails the New York Giants as well. Now, like I said, we could talk about the 11 sacks surrendered against Seattle. We could talk about the almost 28 sacks that the Giants surrendered already on offense, which is I want to say is one of a record high already. It's absolutely ridiculous through 5 weeks of the season to be sacked 28 times. But like I said, Daniel Jones has a big part to play in that too. And you may be wondering, well, what's Daniel Jones at fault in? I could name a couple of reasons. We already talked about one when it comes to pocket awareness, moving in the pocket, sliding protections, making calls at the line. There's definitely a creative inability in Daniel Jones. There's not a lot of checking at the line. There's not a lot of audibles. I never see that. I don't know if it's something that Brian Daboll doesn't want, if he doesn't trust Daniel Jones, or he just doesn't want anybody to make different calls. I really don't see how in the NFL a quarterback isn't allowed to do that, especially one that is paid $40 million. But you just don't see that type of stuff. You never see anybody changing the routes, any audibles, him going back to the receivers when he sees something on the defense, nothing. He just looks at the defense, sees what he has, and runs the play. And that is something that I want to see more audibles. I want to see more checking at the line. I want to see more sliding protections, things like that. And, his pocket awareness, he gets shell-shocked sometimes. It's very inconsistent. I really can't say Daniel Jones has phenomenal pocket awareness, even though there are a lot of plays where when he moves in the pocket, he moves extremely well. There were a lot of plays like that. I can point to even in the preseason from memory. You see that Carolina Panthers play where he stepped up, then bounced outside, and was able to pick up some yards. That was something that was Daniel Jones has the ability to do that. Sometimes he gets shell-shocked, though. When he gets hit a couple of times in the game, forget about it. The rest of the game, he is shell-shocked. He starts seeing ghosts. He starts escaping clean pockets. You seen that play that everybody said that should have went to Wan'Dale Robinson on the corner route, which another controversial play. That pocket was very clean. He should have stood up in that pocket, made the throw to Wan'Dale. He escapes a clean pocket, and the play winds up being thrown away. And I believe that was a third down. So it's those plays that Daniel Jones really struggles at, and I do blame him for. I do blame him for that. Missing guys downfield. That is a big problem. Missing opportunities. Now, I know that the margin for error for this offense is very, very low, and I can understand that, and I have sympathy for that for Daniel Jones. But when you sign a quarterback for that kind of money in the state of your offense and how it is right now, you are expecting that quarterback to make those throws no matter how low the margin of error is. When the opportunity presents itself, you have to make the play. In fact, the margin for error is so low that you cannot point to the 20 plays before and said that he was pressured and beat up all the time, and that in that one instance, in the one play, 21 plays later, when he has a clean pocket and he has a clean lane to throw for a big gain, he misses it. You cannot put it on him. You cannot put it away from him and say that he is not to blame for that play because he's been beat up to 20 plays before that. You have to step up in the pocket and make that throw. Every play is a new play, a new opportunity. You have to make it. And, these Daniel Jones truthers, one thing I do not understand, as much as I want to sympathize with them, as much as I want to agree with them, their points of logic are so flawed, and it comes to really just blindly defending Daniel Jones. Blindly. There is no facts. There is no logic. There is no proof of, in defending Daniel Jones. They just flat out defend him no matter what. They don't want to hear any blame at all on him, which is asinine to me. If you watch all 22 film, there are plenty of plays I can point out. I want to say there are about 5 to 10 plays, maybe even more than that, a game where you're like, Daniel Jones, what are you doing here? Why aren't you pulling the trigger here? Why didn't you see this blitz coming? Matter, yeah, it's more than 5 plays. It's got to be like 10, 13 to 17, something like that. And it's ridiculous. But it's really come to confuse me how Daniel Jones truthers preach and praise Daniel Jones and preach that he was supposed to get paid this $40 million. He was supposed to lead this team. They believe we can win, and he's a great quarterback. And don't talk nonsense about Daniel Jones. Don't talk about my quarterback like that. And in the same breath, when we point out plays and say, why didn't Daniel Jones make this throw? Why didn't Daniel Jones step up in the pocket here? The excuse is always, you expect Daniel Jones to make that throw? And when I respond with I seen Trevor Lawrence set his feet all the time outside the pocket and make those type of throws. He's not Trevor Lawrence. Well, then why do you want him as your franchise quarterback? Don't you think he's a top quarterback in the league? I hear it all the time from the truthers, from the Daniel Jones truthers. He's a top quarterback in the league. He's top 10. Everybody could make the argument. He's arguably a top 10 quarterback. Then why can't he make these type of throws? If you don't believe he can make these type of throws, as I do, as I've seen Daniel Jones make throws like that, why? And not all of them are complete because of different situations, but you got to put the opportunity out. You got to take the opportunity. And when I see Daniel Jones not believe in himself, either not believe in the receivers or not believe in himself to pull the trigger on plays, I start to think he doesn't think he can do that. He doesn't believe in his own ability that he can make those throws. And in turn, Daniel Jones truthers have adopted that and said, he's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not a Joe Burrow. He's not this quarterback and that quarterback. Dude, I see Geno Smith making these throws. Geno Smith without his tackles. Geno Smith without his guard. When we played against the Seattle Seahawks, they were without Charles Cross. They had Stone Forsythe, a 2021 6th-round pick starting at left tackle, who was not great. Abraham Lucas is out. We had some random at right tackle. I don't even know his name. And then during that game, their guard, I believe it was Damian Lewis, who was playing well for them, he went out. Number 75, I don't know who that was, went in the game, started playing tough, and was bulldozing Leonard Williams. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the offensive line. I know the offensive line is bad. I've been one of those guys shouting from the rooftops that this offensive line is terrible. I think Marcus McKeithen may be the worst guard I've ever seen in my entire life. I am not exaggerating. Not exaggerating. Maybe the worst guard I've ever seen in my entire life. But at the same time, Daniel Jones doesn't need to be the root of the problem. I say this, and I want you guys to remember this. It is not enough for a quarterback not to be the problem. It is not enough for a quarterback to just not be the problem. You have to be the solution. You cannot expect your star running back, a position that has been dying gradually over the course of years. You cannot expect that guy to lead your team. Not even Adrian Peterson was able to do that. Adrian Peterson was one of the all-time greats. He never took his team to, a Super Bowl run. Because running backs don't do that. Quarterbacks do. You could point to the Trent Dilfers of the world and Nick Foles of the world, right? Are you really comparing Trent Dilfer and Nick Foles to Daniel Jones? Is that who you wanted to get paid $40 million to? I constantly hear that all the time when we make these arguments. The skeptics, right? The guys who are kind of in the middle, when we make these type of arguments saying that, Do we think that Daniel Jones can lead this team to a Super Bowl? You always hear from the Daniel Jones truthers. Well, the quarterback doesn't necessarily need to take you to the Super Bowl. You have your Trent Dilfers, you have your Nick Foles, right? Guys who are not franchise quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks who make the Super Bowl. Jeff Hostetler, right? Are you saying that Daniel Jones is on the same level of Nick Foles and Trent Dilfer? Like, is that who you wanted to pay $40 million to? Think about that before you make that argument again. The quarterback, most of the time, 9.5 times out of 10, needs to be your solution, needs to be the guy who gets you to the Super Bowl. It's not just the team. It has to be the quarterback. It really does. They have to be the solution. And I don't think he is the solution. I've always said this, even going back from the beginning of the year. Daniel Jones is not the problem. Not the problem. Because there's a lot of problems on this team. Offensively, more specifically, a lot of problems on this team. And I've gone through every single one of them. I went from quarterback to offensive line to wide receivers to coaching. Everywhere, all around the board. I've been on this channel criticizing every single one of them. So I don't want to hear anybody saying, I love Daniel Jones too much. I hate Daniel Jones too much. This is a conversation about Daniel Jones. That's why I'm mostly pointing him out. But he's not the problem. But not being the solution is a problem for a quarterback. And I don't believe he is the solution. So I am entertaining myself to getting a new quarterback in the building. This draft could be one that the Giants luck out and they get top 5 pick, which is something that no one expected. Even the biggest pessimists out there thought that this team could be a playoff team and probably shouldn't be picking in the top 5. But here we are. I think right now we're like 6th, but we're still 5 weeks through the season. Anything can happen. I think we're going to be one of the worst ones. We may even find ourselves in the top 3. You have to ask yourself, if the Giants are in a position at a top 3 spot, should they pull the trigger on a quarterback? Whether that be Caleb Williams or Drake May. You would have to get number 1 overall for Caleb Williams. Unless the Bears get the number 1 overall pick and they don't want a quarterback and they trade it away maybe to us, maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing. When we talk about replacing Daniel Jones, now Daniel Jones wouldn't be replaced immediately if we draft a Caleb Williams. Let's stick with Caleb Williams just to make this simple. If the Giants draft Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones would be the starter next season, obviously. He is being paid a lot. He has a dead cap hit of $69 million. Unless we find a trade candidate, which I doubt, he will be our starting quarterback next season, to start the season at least. Then Caleb Williams will come on later on. Whether that be during the season, right after the season, when the Giants are able to cut ties without a significant dead cap, because I believe it's still a hefty amount, like $20 million maybe in the third season of the contract, to cut ties with Daniel Jones. If we get a Caleb Williams, what's going to be different? Well, I'll tell you what Caleb Williams will provide, and that is way better pocket presence, way better pocket awareness, way better footwork. Now, I know at USC he has a lot of time to throw. That's something that's going to be a test for him, but you can tell he has a very good sense of the pocket, and he's going to be really tested with this offensive line, and what we do with it for the next couple of seasons is unknown. But Caleb Williams will provide that. He is definitely going to take shots down. He has an amazing ability to create plays. Like, this is something that is inarguably in Caleb Williams' favor. That is way better of a trait that he has than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones does just not have what Caleb Williams has. Caleb Williams has generational talent written all over him. And I think he is an automatic upgrade from Daniel Jones. And I think is going to see the most improvement in this offense rather than just drafting a tackle and seeing if he works out. I think getting a quarterback in here is going to change things immediately. Now, is it going to fix everything? Absolutely not. I think Caleb Williams will struggle. Absolutely. He's not going to be perfect because the offensive line is still going to be absolute shit. We have to figure out how to fix that offensive line. It's been way too long. It's been 10 plus years that this offensive line has been terrible. We've never had a good season at offensive line in over 10 years, collectively. not one good season with the offensive line. So that needs to change if we get a Caleb Williams. You need to commit to Caleb and fix that offensive line. And I think the wide receivers, I think that could fix itself. I honestly think that. There's so much talented wide receivers in the NFL. You could find one anywhere. You can get the chemistry going with your quarterback. I don't think that's much of a problem, to be honest with you. I think the offensive line and quarterback needs to change. I just think Daniel Jones is not enough. He's not enough. We need something more. We need something more to elevate this team. And it's unfortunate because I like Daniel Jones. I keep saying that because I do like him, but he's not enough. I want someone that's going to take us over the edge. I think Geno Smith right now is better than a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And a lot of people don't even see Geno Smith as a franchise quarterback. So why do we see Daniel Jones as one? I just want a quarterback that is going to take this team over the edge, that is going to elevate the guys around him. Because obviously our wide receiving core is very bad. It's pretty bad. Not very bad, pretty bad. Not too bad. And the offensive line is the worst I've ever seen it. We need somebody to take us over the edge. We can't have somebody just mediocre. Daniel Jones is mediocre. Let's be real. He's mediocre. He's going to play how the rest of the offense plays. And I want a quarterback in here that is going to take and elevate this offense to a new level because of him. Needs to change. And here's the thing. It's unfortunate for Daniel Jones because I believe if this team was in a position that had a good offensive line, had a decent receiving core, I think Daniel Jones can do something here. But I don't think this team is anywhere near where they want to be. And I do think Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen is the answer, but it's going to take at least another 2 more seasons. And by that time, Daniel Jones will be in his 3rd year of his contract, already $100 million plus in his contract, almost getting to another one, and then this team will be good. Nah, I want to reset with a new quarterback, get a cheaper contract, better production, possibly generational talent, and restart from there and rebuild the right way. Too many years going from after Tom Coughlin retired, we get Pat Shurmur in here, and he has to deal with Eli, and then they draft Daniel Jones, and then Pat Shurmur is fired, and Daniel Jones is there, and then there's Joe Judge, and then Joe Judge is fired, then Brian Daboll. We've never been able to reset completely. I want Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll to be able to reset completely with a new quarterback that they choose, and I think that Brian Daboll can do some nasty work with Caleb Williams. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. As much as I don't want to replace Daniel Jones, I think it's something that we have to do. That being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys leave a like and comment in the comment section below what do you guys think about the Daniel Jones situation. I'm Kid Blue, and I'll see you guys in the next video.